I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Christiansburg Town Council is now in session. If I can find my agenda, we'll get started. First on the agenda is a public hearing, which is the 2011 Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report called CAPER. The town of Christiansburg is a recipient of the Community Development Block Grant. That's CDBG funding is required by the U.S. Government of Housing and Urban Development to prepare the Conditional Annual Performance and Evaluation Report called CAPER. The CAPER is an evaluation and performance report detailing accomplishments toward meeting the goals outlined in the 2010 through 2014 Consolidated Plan. CAPER compares the actual performance measures with the performance measures listed in the 2010 Annual Action Plan. And we did receive something like $106,000, I believe it was, maybe more than that. Is there anyone who would like to speak to this public hearing? Something we do when we accept the government's money, we give them an evaluation report. So, hearing.
What we've accomplished is replacing the sidewalks coming up Roanoke Street, and contractor should start on the next phase soon, as soon as it quits raining. So.
Okay, we'll close the public hearing then and move on to our regular meeting. Christiansburg Town Council is now in session. You have copies of the minutes of the last meeting. I'm sure you've read over those, and we'll entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. We have an update on the Allegheny Street and the Miller Street project. Mr. Wayne Nelson is here to tell us what's going on in that neighborhood and where we stand.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Privilege of coming before you this evening and give you this update. We're calling it an update, but I'm pleased to be able to tell you that what I'm going to discuss here is project closeout. We're at that point, and I think that's probably music to everybody's ears. First of all, the sanitary sewer, we've announced that before, that's done. Services are in, everybody's hooked up. Water system, water main is in Allegheny. All the residents on Allegheny, Canaan, and Epperly have been tied to the new system, and that's complete. The water main in Miller Street is completed. The town has tested it. We've taken our back tees. They've passed. We've sent the information on to the health department. We're waiting for approval to make connections. It's ready for service. We hope to get that approval this week, and once that happens, we're prepared to move forward with the final service connections, and should have that completed within, we estimate, 14 business days. At that point, the utility portion of the project will be complete. At this point, I want to talk a bit about our effort here recently to communicate better with the citizens. We have combined our resources of our engineering department, public works department, and and our public relations department, and we have initiated an effort to better communicate with the residents out there. We sent out 123 letters to folks that live in those neighborhoods, in that neighborhood. And to this point, we've received 30 responses. Some prefer email. There's some that prefer we give them a phone call. That's been helpful here as we move forward with water service connections. We're communicating, the field and the office, we're communicating and letting the residents know when we're going to be switching their service over, so that when they come home from work and find they have air in the system or their water's a little cloudy, they'll understand why and won't be as concerned. But we provide them a flyer and explain what they may experience when this happens. The other benefit of this improved communication, and I will encourage the residents out there to engage with us here, because we want to hear from you. We want to be able to communicate with you, because it's going to be important as we move forward with with our street restoration. And I provided council with the tentative schedule here of our street reconstruction effort. And if you would take a look at that, and I apologize to the public, been out of town this week and weren't able to get something up on the board here for everyone to see. But the first phase of this project is the planning and design, as it's noted here. And what this is the traffic calming process that we've in the process of adopting and implementing. The heavy line on top is the full length of that process. We're in the development of alternative phase right now, and then soon we'll be initiating the administrative process, which engages the public with this program. But as you see, that's going to take a while to implement, and probably we're estimating to the end of November, end of December possibly. And we're not going to wait until then to start rebuilding the street. In fact, we're prepared next week to start, and that's our plan. As you see in item 4, apologize for the dates, it's a little crowded trying to get this on 11 by 17 sheet, but we're projecting to start next week. And this is where communication with the residents is going to be very important. What we'd like to do is we're going to start with Allegheny. We're going to rebuild it in sections. And while the street through this whole process has been closed to through traffic, the public just won't recognize that at times. But we're going to need to force that issue, because we need the through traffic to find an alternate route. So we're prepared to set up a very visible and signed detour. Those that want to pass through the neighborhood will be asked to continue down South Franklin to First Street, and then up Roanoke or vice versa, coming the other direction. That'll allow us to minimize the traffic control and be able to construct this much quicker. We're probably going to rely on local pavers, because we're going to build it in sections. So we're going to need to rely on a contractor who can mobilize fairly soon once we get them under contract. I want to mention that we are communicating heavily on this issue internally with staff. We're going to talk to the schools, find out what the bus schedules are and coordinate with them. Talk to the post office, let them know, excuse me, what we're doing and what impact that may have on them. But more importantly, we're going to need to communicate with the residents, because when we're working in a section of road, everyone's going to need to be aware of that, and the residents avoid that area. And we'll communicate that fully to the residents. Those that already hooked up with us by email, that'll be quite a bit easier. But we will reach out to those that, for whatever reason, haven't. But and again, I can't stress the communication factor enough here. It's been very frustrating for everyone. We realize that. But the light is at the end of the tunnel here. Street committee met this evening. We presented some traffic calming options, which they are considering. It's under consideration. But while that process is going on, we will be reconstructing the street. The basic premise here is that this winter, I say this winter, this fall, we will put base asphalt down on the road for the public to drive on. Whatever traffic calming measures we decide upon will be implemented, and in the case of line striping and so forth, will be put down on the base asphalt. We'll be able to test it out this winter and see how it works. But then this spring, we will put the final course down, asphalt course, top course down, and at that point we will implement the final traffic calming measures. One thing that I will point out that's common with all the alternatives is a three-way stop at Canaan and Allegheny, and a three-way stop at Miller and Allegheny. And we plan to reconfigure the intersection Miller and Allegheny so that it's more of a T intersection and eliminate some of that slingshot effect you get when you're trying to sail through the neighborhood. So I don't know if I've forgotten anything or not, Todd. I think I've pretty much hit it all. But I guess the point being is that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and I wanted to, even though it said an update, I think we're in the position now that we're trying to close this project out. Yes, sir.
Reading this, the way I see it, on the tentative paving on Miller, on Allegheny Street, should be through by the 24th of October.
Are we talking the base?
The base, yeah.
Yes, sir, that's 10.
Okay. So then it should be pretty much open to the public to drive up and down that after the 24th on Allegheny? Or will you have to, I guess part of it is the Miller Street, people going up and down are pretty much stay on Allegheny, don't they?
again, when we're reconstructing the street, we'll need to do it in sections. We're gonna need to communicate with residents whether if you live on Miller Street, do you access Roanoke Street to get out, or are we working down there and you need to turn up Allegheny and leave the neighborhood in that direction?
I'm bringing this up, if people should ask me, let's say, when do you think Allegheny is going to be, somewhat finished and have a base paving? And I could say the 24th of October and be fairly close.
I wouldn't
You
put
wouldn't say.
I wouldn't put a date on it. So that would be my suggestion to you. Because this is all tentative, this is
won't be open.
weather dependent. Yes, sir.
It won't be open to use for general public until Miller Street's finished. Because they're gonna be working there, so you come down Allegheny and get to Miller and then turn around and go back.
That's true, okay,
So-
all right, yeah.
So you don't wanna tell them 24th of October, you wanna tell them when Miller's finished, then they'll be able to use
All right.
But
go all
once
the
you-
way through.
But once you have the base coat on both Allegheny and Miller, it's a through street again.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so I think that for Miller and Allegheny would be, together would be 11, 13.
That's the week of, so
okay.
we're projecting mid-November.
Now, do we have to watch out, the temperature can't be below 40 degrees, is it, or something like that, to pave?
You can pave in a bit cooler weather with base asphalt than you can surface
Okay, oh, you
mix.
can, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you're pretty confident you're going to be able to lay this before the cold weather?
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Nelson, the residents there have spoken to us before about the dust, which you've addressed, and the bumpy street, which we've tried to address, the closed
Yes, sir.
street, which we've explained. I think the residents have been fairly tolerant of that project and haven't really complained a whole lot because they know it was a long drawn out project that was going to benefit them. So I'd like to commend the residents there for their excellent tolerance of this project, even though they still are expressing concern about when it's going to be finished and when the dust and all of the other things are going to be eliminated. And the communication is something that is just so critical.
And we've received some positive feedback in regards to that. And we've learned some lessons here and things that we will use in all projects moving forward, whether it be water, sewer, storm drain, streets. I think there's lessons to be learned.
I think
Behooves us
using
not
our
to-
own staff, they've been very, very appreciative of our own workers. And I'm not sure, I won't speak for you, but that was a major project that we probably should have gone outside to find a contractor to do it, but it probably would have taken about as long, so. You don't have to
Well,
respond.
no, I don't mind. I don't mind. We are in a state of change here, and we're at a good point, I think, as a town and as an organization, how we look at these projects and how we effectively tackle them. And I think we've got some of the best operators in the valley right here work for the town of Christiansburg. I'm telling you, we got some great workers.
And that's what we've
We got-
heard from the residents as
There.
well.
They're good. They're good at what they do. And we understand the needs, and we're prepared to change, plan, and take direction, new direction, if that's what it takes.
Well, we've said before, I think our staff can give lessons to VDOT on how to build streets and roads. But Does anyone else have a question or a comment for Mr. Nelson?
I just have one more thing. I'm not sure if a lot of you are familiar with this or not, but his people are going to start working on that Depot Park about the middle of October.
That's
That's the plan right now, and I think that's, the soccer people have said that they are going to be off the fields by the 2nd of October, and if we can use it and start working on it then, and I think Mr. Nelson and his crew are thinking about doing it right in about the middle of October, and I think that's really outstanding.
But, thank you, sir, and I want to take a minute here and thank some people. Jim and Rick, Public Works, you know, I ask a question and I get an answer. I mean, they're right on top of their game. Todd has been instrumental this week with this effort tonight, along with Roy Nestor, our project manager over streets and storm drain, and Jesse Nestor, our project manager over water and sewer. And to those guys, go credit.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson.
Thank you.
And let's make sure we give you some credit for this, the success of this project as well. Is there anyone else that would like to address council at this time on any matter? Yes, ma'am, if you'll state your name and address your comments to council.
Yes, sir. Thank you, your mayor and town council. My name is Cheryl Bates, and I live on Chrisman Street here in Christiansburg. I have a little problem that happened on a few months ago. I was coming back from Radford on Radford Road with my family one Sunday afternoon, and we were at the light of Radford Road in West Main, and sitting there at the light, you're on, Mr. Mayor. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. Sitting there at the light, all of a sudden, there came down a crash, and my windshield shattered, and I couldn't figure out what was going on, and I kind of felt like Chicken Little for a minute. I thought the sky was falling, and I didn't know what had happened. So I immediately, when the light turned green, went over into the Family Dollar parking lot and looked to see what had happened, and it was a very large, clear, white traffic light lens. I was shocked and surprised, and so I immediately called the police department, and they came out and made a report. And then I was told that that I was to get. You have to excuse me, I've had a couple of strokes, so it's kind of hard for me to put my words together. I was told to get estimate for this, and I kind of feel like it's the town's responsibility, not my insurance. I would love to turn it into my insurance company, but I'm disabled. I have a lot of health issues. I live with my daughter and grandchildren, and so I have liability only for my car. I went over to New River Glass and got an estimate for my windshield, and I did bring the matter to Mr. Helms' attention. And he said he would talk to a couple of people and get back to me. And when he got back to me, he said, well, if we paid for you, we'd have to pay for anybody else who had this kind of a problem. And I find that kind of upsetting because I love Christiansburg. I drove all the way here from Austin, Texas. And this is where my family is. It's a beautiful town. I love all the people here. And I feel that you guys can be more than fair on this situation. So that's pretty much it.
And what was the estimate, Ms. Bates?
It was for $300.88.
We do not own the traffic signals, is that right, Mr.? We own them, but they're controlled by,
No, we own those. The ones we don't own are the ones on North Franklin Street,
Okay.
right around the mall.
but the ones here in town, they're our lights.
It's turned into our insurance company, and they denied it, and it's
Yes.
been,
Their comment was, if I may, there is no known reason why this lens would separate from the light that it was a part of. And the town of Christiansburg has not had a situation occur previously, therefore they would not have reason to expect this to occur. Absent a defect that the town of Christiansburg knew or should have known about and failed to correct, no negligence can be assigned to them in causing this loss and your damage. For this reason, we must respectfully decline to make any voluntary payments to you for your damage to your windshield.
How many times have we had lenses fall out of the traffic signals and break
Bless you, sir.
windshield?
it just fell off the Opticon, which is the signal for the fire and rescue. It changes the lights, and we've never had one fall off. It's made onto the actual light bulb. It's not something you clamp on, or that's the way I understand it. Is that correct, Rick?
Yeah, the bulb is, it's actually the face of the bulb.
It's the face of the bulb, and the face of the bulb fell off.
Right, but we told her if we paid for hers, we would have to pay for anybody else who may have experienced
Well, not
same
that
thing.
particular incident, but
But that is what you,
there's things, if a rock flies up off the road, we'd have to pay for, broken windshield, then we'd have to pay for it. If, I don't know, a limb fell out of a tree during a storm, we might have to pay for it because it's on the town right away. So that's the reason the insurance company said we shouldn't pay it.
I understand that, sir. And I did understand what you were saying, but I was a bit gobsmacked that a town cannot handle a claim. I'm driving along with my family having a beautiful day, and all of a sudden this heavy Coke bottle size, it was big and it's very heavy, fell off.
Was it a case of, you're talking about the light, was it a case of the light backing out of the socket and falling and you had this lens on
The
it?
front of the light fell off.
It fell off.
Yes.
They are very heavy.
Have we talked to the manufacturer of that equipment to
Don't believe so.
get their input and see if they would share any responsibility for it?
That's a good idea.
That's a good idea, actually. I mean, I don't want to speak for the mayor.
Well, I feel like Ms. Bates, if I had been parked there waiting for the light to change and something crashed through my windshield, I would expect the town to assume responsibility for it.
Yes, sir.
I'm at a loss as to why we can't
Well, I'm
step up
sure-
to the plate and assume liability for it. But
Right.
I think as it's been said, if we pay for you and then another incident happens, if it's a tree limb or if it's something else, where do you draw the line? But that piece of equipment belongs to the town.
Mhm.
And, not every tree limb belongs to the town.
Right.
Council, you'll have to help me here.
I'll suggest, I think that was a good idea. The manufacturer certainly would be interested in.
Well,
take-
I think if we'd like to drag this thing on another year and a half, we could turn it over to the manufacturer. I don't think you'll get any kind of quick response from them either. It's cut and dried. First of all, you know, as we have stated earlier, collision insurance, full coverage insurance would cover that glass damage. And I understand that she does not have that. And she's not the only one in town that doesn't have collision insurance, I can assure you that. But, you know, it's a clear case. We have to look at this thing on a case-by-case issue. I feel that it is some portion of responsibility for the town. Now, is it our responsibility for the whole thing? I don't know. But I think that we need to come to some type of conclusion, whether we do it tonight or whether we do it within the next 4 or 5 days. We need to come to a conclusion as to yea or nay, we're gonna pay it or not. Now, I think that in this case, I'd like to see us consider it. But, again, I'm one of 5 votes tonight.
When did this happen? How long ago?
3 months ago?
What was the
2 or 3
date,
months
Ms.
ago?
Bates?
Cinco de Mayo. It's
That's
been a
May
few
15th.
months.
Okay, okay.
We're having a good day.
We've got another meeting in 2 weeks. Why don't we go back to the manufacturer and see if we can get something out of them in that 2-week period of time?
Do we buy
Come
all,
back with a response to council and let us make a decision what we need to do at that time.
do we buy all of our lights, our red lights from one company?
It's not one signal, it's the Opticon light.
I mean, okay, do we buy all of them
I
from this
don't
one
know.
company?
Initially, we did, well, we bought them at different times, so I don't know if they all came from the same company or not.
I was thinking if we did, I mean, these people probably want to keep our business, and if they see one of their pieces of property is not doing the job, I think that maybe they would, you know, come across with some restitution here for this.
It's definitely not good publicity for them.
Yeah,
I'll finish my thought.
Sorry, Brad.
I don't know what the harm would be in, with an official police report and an official statement from the insurance company, which would need to be provided to the manufacturer, but I don't know what the harm or undue delay would be in official contact by, you know, you or Mr. Nelson or Mr. Bourne to say, this is, you know, this has arisen and we're trying to remedy it. But we do, you know, we do feel that it was this, you know, device that caused the, you know, from all indications, it was a failure of this product. And you have an estimate and ask them if they would, is there any legal reason why we should not do that? I mean, but we've already taken some measures to address it. We haven't accepted financial responsibility, but we've already contributed something to help Ms. Bates with the situation. But anyway, 2 weeks, if it's been 3 months, then 2 weeks would be enough time, I think, to go and get an official response from them.
If we don't get a satisfactory response, would the street committee want to take a look at it and make a recommendation?
If we don't get a satisfactory response from them in 2 weeks, I don't see why council don't just make a decision at that time what they're gonna do.
It was our street, so I hope that we have checked every one of these devices on all of the traffic signals to make sure that there's no loose lenses up there. At least, you know, we're making that step to see that it doesn't happen again.
They did.
Oh, they did. How old, may I ask Mr. Bourne, how old are those, how old are the video detection cameras?
It's not video detection, but it's a light that indicates.
Oh,
when the-
okay, not video detection, it's for preemption.
But I would say, I think it's, when I first started, it's about 10 or 11 years ago when they installed those. I don't know about specific time, but that was,
Oh, okay, so that
they were
time
installed
frame
by the contractor
was a
too.
long time.
Yeah.
So it's some type of bonding agency there that holds that lens in place, and it's just been temperature cycled to the point that it gave way.
Is the manufacturer still in business?
It's your typical, the outdoor, like you screw an outdoor light on the back of the deck or something, the big face lens, and that's what came loose. So we're actually changing the type of the bulb, so.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I suggest we go back to the manufacturer. We don't get some satisfactory
Right.
resolution within 2 weeks. We take action.
All right, let's do that. Ms. Bates, I'm sorry that happened to you. And, as I say, if it had happened to me, I would be right where you are saying,
Well,
it's your light, my windshield, you broke it.
yeah. Well, I appreciate you very much for listening. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else want to speak to council at this time? Okay, Mr. Shack.
Yes, sir. Thank you. My name is Andy Shack. I live at 485 Pickett Street, Christiansburg, Virginia. I came here for 2 reasons. One is to pass out a little bit more information pertaining to the prior meeting about Chandler running early hour runs just about every day this summer. And the second is I was going to ask council if we heard back from Chandler, because I don't see anybody here from Chandler. They were supposed to come back with a resolution on what they were going to do for the citizens.
Andy, I thought we had given them to the first meeting in October
That's what I remember.
to respond.
Well, I thought that you said they had to the 18th because you thought that 6 or 8 weeks was going to be too long.
Yeah, I think there's some of their, I don't remember the whole thing, Andy, you can watch it on TV and tell me if I'm wrong. But I do believe that Mr. Quinn is out of town this week. I had that in mind somewhere. I'm operating under the fact that we would hear from them by the first meeting in October.
Under the minutes, it says it's report back to council in 3 or 4 weeks.
I was,
But it was mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think council decided we were going to wait till the first meeting in October.
Okay.
At the
Okay.
latest.
I probably misunderstood.
And
No,
even
no,
if-
I thought the same thing.
I thought they
when
said the
you it,
18th.
so.
And even at that time, they had stated that there were some conflicts with their schedules, and we didn't think that was enough reason to give them more time than a month.
Sure.
4 weeks was enough time.
And I'm not here by no means to beat a dead horse, but I do want to pass out just a few more things, and then I'll leave be. Here's a petition. There's 29 citizens that signed that petition, and that's primarily just the residents on Cambridge Street. That's nobody else. This one here is basically your top officials for Chandler in North Carolina, and the phone number. And it also, I know what Fred Queen mentioned that Chandler wasn't making any money. And I did find that hard to believe. And it does show their revenue at $47 million. I do understand that's probably not covering their overhead and the expenditures. But for an example, tonight they got a pour, which I'm very thankful for Virginia Tech. This one here has 2 main people on there. The first one is Joseph. He is the project manager for the university's construction each and every year. He does the developing of all the new projects. And the one below him is Charles Stanley. And he is actually the project manager for the job that they're getting ready to pour this evening. And the additional copies there is just to show you that they're still running 1 a.m., 1 a.m., 12:15 a.m. Brett does send me those. I thought that they were going to work with me. Steve Marshall, Dan Canada did. They used to put us up. As you see, that Virginia Tech and the project manager is putting myself and my family up this evening. I thank them very much for that. I felt like it wasn't their obligation. These two fellers right here assured me that the hours that they're running are not required to be running. That's why the names and numbers are there. If anybody feels free, you want to call these people. They're really nice guys. They both said that they could run 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. and get the pour done. And we're talking 700 yards is what they're going to pour tonight. And it takes them approximately 6 hours to do that 700 yards. And again, the three options I feel like we have here is, one is to make the amendment on the noise. Two is put that sound barrier wall up, which I gave you the literature, and that's approximately $300,000 to do Yellow Sulphur Road. Or the third is to invite Boxley back into our industrial park, which would create revenue, but maybe ease the tension on Chandler because they have to run so many hours because they can't keep up. I know $300,000 is a lot for the sound barrier wall, but if you take 700 yards tonight and you multiply that by at least $120 a yard, that wall's bought and paid for on one project. So again, I don't want to beat a dead horse. My whole goal here is to get myself and these residents of Christiansburg good night's sleep, and our kids the education so they're not sleeping during class, and that's about it. So that's the additional information I want to provide. Again, I feel bad that Tech has to step up to the plate and provide me. I kind of feel privileged because the other 28 citizens that signed that petition is not going to get that luxury. Maybe they don't all have children, but I'm going to take advantage of that for my children's sake this evening. But again, I would really respect each and every one if you just take the time and a little bit of consideration that we do need our sleep. We're not denying them access to the land use. We're just saying maybe between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. we need some quiet time. And that's it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Shack.
Yes, sir.
Anybody have questions of Andy?
No, I just appreciate you showing up and letting us know whether you heard something or not.
Nothing. I haven't even received a phone call. I'm getting more out of the project managers in Virginia Tech than I am Chandler. And I guess the thing that upsets me is that this outside company comes into our town and has no consideration for the citizens. It's all about the almighty dollar. And the old saying is it takes money to make money. So if they have to invest $300,000 to separate the industrial from the residential, then they should step up to the plate, invest a little money in this community, being that they're making all the money from this community, and give back. I just don't see where they're giving back anything. That's what perturbs me, I guess, the most.
Well, Mayor, hopefully the matter will be resolved by October 2nd, but Barry, I'd like to get some contingencies, like we can do as a town by October 2nd, and do it going into October 2nd and having a discussion and leaving it for another 2 weeks. I'd like that to be our sort of line in the sand, and if nothing's been done, that we have at least options in front of us, what we can do.
I'm looking over the minutes of the last meeting, and it says Mr. Queen agreed to meet with the owners of Chandler Concrete next week and report back within 6 weeks. And then before that, it said that Mr. Queen would take the information to the owners for discussion and report to council in 3 to 4 weeks. I guess we're leaving it to Mr. Queen to resolve this thing and get with the company and make suggestions as to what we can do to protect the residential neighborhood. Now, whether he's done it or not, I don't know. Does Chandler need to hear something from council? That we have heard complaints and we'd like for something to be resolved with it.
I think we could put down that it's our understanding that they are gonna come back and see us and talk to us at our next meeting on October 2nd.
Right, that's the way
I
it
mean,
was
I
left.
think, to me, that's the way I remember it.
Our intentions
I-
were.
They were
and
gonna come
we-
back, and we were gonna have written correspondence from them, something by.
Yeah, something, that's right.
We were
want
gonna
to
have some type
respond
of
to
communication.
that, yeah.
Probably wouldn't hurt to shoot somebody a couple of letters reminding them that the deadline for the response is October the 2nd.
I mean, if he's tied up that meeting, they can have somebody else that can come there and talk to us.
Well, why don't we let the town draft a letter to do just what Mike's talking about? Send it to Mr. Queen, but copy this president and vice president, make sure they get a copy.
I think I agree with Councilman Barber. I think even an email would be adequate. I would even copy council that we're expecting a response by the next meeting. Is there anything inappropriate about doing that?
No, no.
No,
That's
we've
fine.
heard again this evening, we've heard, and just remind them that, we are expecting to hear something. I do think both Mr. Shack and the folks that showed up, as well as Chandler Concrete, made some salient points at the last discussion. I can wear both sets of moccasins and sort of see where they're coming from, and I do hope that there is an acceptable resolution to this. I will note to council, the one argument that was made by Chandler Concrete for their reasons for having these evening runs was the weather and the temperatures. Those have not been the case recently, the temperatures. And I do know, but that was a point that they made, that is not, that doesn't hold water, recently. It might have been July. Anyhow, I think, following up on Councilman Barber and Councilman Van Hooser's request, I think an email would be fine.
As I say, we left it up to Mr. Queen to make the company aware, and we don't even know if Chandler Concrete is aware that there's been a complaint.
I've contacted Bob Chandler myself. He's on that sheet. And Brett's information's on those sheets too.
Okay, so
But
we
Bob
assume-
Chandler's,
We assume that they know.
Oh, yeah.
And that Mr. Queen was going to take the action to make sure they knew.
yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
You're talking about the email, I'm not sure, a registered letter might not be a better idea. So nobody can say, hey, well, we didn't see that email. We sent it from the registered, and then we know they've signed for it, and we know it's been there.
I just don't think anyone needs to put on any brass knuckles now.
Okay.
They're a corporate citizen.
I'm not sure if a registered letter is brass knuckles.
They're a corporate citizen,
Uh-huh.
and we need to treat them with the dignity and respect
Okay.
that they have so far, and we'll just hope that they come back with something that's acceptable
Right.
to start with.
Yeah, I'm not looking for a fight. I'm trying to work with them. We just need some sleep, that's all.
And that's the hope, but I do want some options for us, Barry, on October 2nd, so we're well informed if we do need to make a decision.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mr. Shack.
Yes, sir.
Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? Mr. Bauer?
I'm Samuel Bauer. I live at 100 Allegheny Street. I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your kind words about the citizens of Allegheny. I think I'm the only one here tonight. I have been attending the meetings of the Streets Committee, and tonight we saw a number of very interesting plans for the street. But my main topic for tonight, and I'll be very brief, is simply to reiterate what I have said before you many times. And that is that I think the vast majority of folks in the area of construction appreciate the fact that we are getting the infrastructure upgrades that were so vitally necessary. And a little bit of dust, a lot of speeding, rough roads and so forth are the price that you pay for this. And I realize that some of my neighbors do not exactly share my tolerance for this, but we do appreciate it. And I also want to laud what Mr. Nelson was talking about earlier, about the increased communication. I think that is just an excellent idea. We signed up for the email, and we get a regular report on what is expected, and that will serve us very well as the reconstruction of the road goes on. And finally, to reiterate and to reinforce what has been said by Mr. Nelson and members of council and Mr. Walters tonight, and that is that we very much respect the workers, the planners, all the people who have been involved in this project. You are indeed blessed with some very excellent people working for you, and there are a number of us in the neighborhood who have tried to be very supportive of those folks. And so again, we thank you for this project. I'm still very positive about it, and you need to get good words said about this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer. Is there anyone else who would like to address council at this time? If not, we'll close the citizen comment portion and move on. Proposed ordinance and amendment to the employee handbook in reference to background checks. And you should have a copy of that was in the packet, the agenda packet. It's a draft of section 2.100, chapter 2, administration of the Christiansburg Town Code, providing for criminal background checks. I hope you've had an opportunity to look over that.
I have, and Mr. Gwynn has taken a look at this like he said he would, and we had wording about comprehensive background check and criminal background check, and he's taken that comprehensive check, or it's been taken out of here, and it's strictly, you did it? It's strictly criminal now, and it looks like it covers everything.
Yeah, the whole purpose behind this was so that we need an ordinance to be able to obtain certain information from the Central Criminal Records Exchange and under the Virginia Code. And so that was one of the things. Also to provide for when we ask certain applicants for the criminal background check. In some cases, it's only upon offer of employment. In other cases, it may be when there's a couple of finalists for a certain position. So we just wanted to clarify some of that, and then we took out all those components that didn't necessarily fall under criminal background checks.
Mm-hmm.
Any comments from other councilmen? And this would go into effect immediately upon adoption. If you are prepared this evening to adopt this ordinance, then we'll entertain a motion.
I so move that we adopt the ordinance.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt the criminal background check ordinance. Further discussion? If not, I will ask the clerk to poll council on this matter.
Councilman Barber,
Aye.
Councilman Hubbard,
Aye.
Councilman Showalter,
Aye.
Councilman Stipes,
Aye.
Councilman Van Hoosier,
Aye.
And we have 4 ayes and 1 who is absent. So we have
We got 5 ayes.
All right, five votes for, and that will be so noted and signed by the mayor and the town clerk. And your vote will also be recorded. We need to appoint someone to fill the vacancy on the Board of Zoning Appeals. Mr. Jack Akers, who has served for many years, has chosen not to seek reappointment, and we have one party who is interested in serving, and that is Ernest Wade.
I'll second, or first, I'll make a motion to appoint Mr. Wade.
Second.
Motion and a second to appoint Mr.
It's a
Wade.
recommendation to the
This-
judge.
It's a recommendation, it's not to appoint him, it's to recommend to the judge that he be appointed. And the term runs until August 31st, 2017. Mr. Wade has served for many years on our planning commission. He was also served on town council. I think he's an excellent candidate. So, if there's no further discussion, all in favor of recommending Mr. Wade to this post, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you. Next is the adoption of a resolution to reappoint John Kirby to the Blacksburg Christiansburg DPI Water Authority. He is an at-large member, and the town of Blacksburg has already taken action to reappoint him to that position. So now it's up to us.
I move we reappoint Mr. Kirby.
Second.
Motion and a second to reappoint Mr. Kirby to the Water Authority. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. I asked you last time to be considering the appointment of a representative to the Route 8 and Route 11 corridor study, which will be done by VDOT. And I didn't have a rush of folks calling me to volunteer to serve, but I'm going to ask again, is there anyone who would be interested in serving on this corridor study? They'll probably meet maybe once a quarter. I doubt they'll meet that often.
I'll do it.
Thank you, Mr. Barber. Mr. Barber is so appointed as our representative. That is, if it's okay with council. All in favor of Mr. Barber, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you, Mr. Barber. I owe you one.
I'll collect.
The next item is recommended by Councilman Stipes, so we'll let Mr. Stipes explain what he would like to do here.
It's very simply put, I won't be windy. Our 1993 comprehensive, or not 2003 comp plan and 2007 update, believe it or not, has an amazing amount of good ideas in there. As our town continues to become more pedestrian bicycle friendly, in the extension of Huckleberry Trail and the Cambria Street, and especially in light of some of the recent vehicle pedestrian conflicts we've had, including a death along North Franklin Street, and realizing that there is more interest in getting around in some of our more commercialized areas, the downtown, but especially out in the marketplace area. Our 2003 comprehensive plan recommended as an action item the consideration of a town bikeway committee that would take up these issues and help us to prioritize bicycle pedestrian projects, walkways, crosswalks. And I think that the time is right to have such a committee to help advise council on prioritizing some improvements, and particularly as they relate to pedestrian bicycle access and safety throughout the town. And that's it. I could go on, but I think the time is right to do that. And there's a number of projects coming up that would help us to decide where best to spend our time and money and efforts to improve and enhance the bicycle and pedestrian community.
I think it's a good idea. I guess really the question in my mind is how we go about doing it. And
Well, without even talking to anybody, I can assure you that there is a very active bicycle association with members here in town. Ms. Hare is nodding her head. I can assure you there was, because I heard from when I first ran for council and heard from when there's periodic progress that we're making. And I don't have any recommendations at this time as to what that would be comprised of, but certainly some citizens that have an interest and knowledge in bicycle and pedestrian.
why don't we advertise it and see who will respond, and recognizing that I think at a minimum we need to have someone on the staff to be a part of that. And,
Yeah.
The first decision is, do we want one? And then the second decision will be deciding, deciding, what it'll be comprised of. But tonight, I just wanted that for council discussion as a working group that basically advises council on, we think that you should focus your efforts and help us prioritize these improvements.
Well, Brad, I think, once I found out you were going to present that tonight, I support this wholeheartedly. I think it's a long time coming, and I believe we should be a little assertive in moving it forward. Get this committee or commission put together.
All right.
Brad, would I be out of line here to, if we decided on this, to see if you would be interested to being the temporary chairman, or seems like
Well,
you're pretty familiar with the Huckleberry and some of the things like that. Would you be interested in doing
I
that?
think the question tonight is, if that's something the council thinks would be a good idea, then maybe the mayor would talk about forming a committee and then decide who should be on that committee. But I think, just to stay focused, the question is, do y'all think it's a good idea to have a bikeway, walkway committee?
Well, that's a recommendation of the comprehensive plan, so.
That's right in our plan, and there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, not to sound patronizing, but there's a lot of good stuff in there.
well,
And it's
and
time to act on some of that and not,
and if you follow the planning commission,
Can we take a break here so you can change films? Is that what we're doing?
All right, thank you. I
I was just going to say, I
I'm
think it's
sorry.
very appropriate that we go ahead and do this because, the planning commission, every time they're looking at some type of development or something like that, there's always a concern about connectivity and handling paths and bikeways and stuff, so we definitely need to proceed with it on that.
And I think I'm hearing that you are recommending that we establish a committee dealing with bikes and trails. Is that what if you want to put it in the form of a motion, we'll go ahead and act on it if you want to establish a committee.
Well, I think we need to pursue establishing this committee. I'm not sure tonight is the night we can decide on who's going to do what.
No, we're not going to decide on who's going to
But
be on
I
the
would like to
committee.
see us form that committee.
Well, that's what I'm
That's all we
asking.
need tonight. That
Yeah.
sounds
Do
consensuous.
you want to establish a committee?
Yeah.
Yes.
And put it in the form of a motion
So
and
moved.
act on it.
And second,
All right, further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Now, as far as who's gonna serve on it and how many, I would suggest no more than 7.
Oh, there won't be that many.
I don't know that you even need that many, but you need a representative from council, you probably need a representative from the police department, representative from the planning department, and a couple citizens.
I'd like to, for some reason, I'd like to get input from the rescue squad.
Can I get staff to look at what other places have done and bring it
Yeah,
back?
that would
Yeah, I
think that'd be great.
Yeah.
Good idea.
that'd be great.
Excellent idea.
Good
The
idea.
mayor is not going to appoint a committee until you give me a little more direction.
Thank you, that's a good idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stipes. I owe you too. Discussion regarding the first regular council meeting in January of 2013, and that is New Year's Day. I don't think you're going to want to meet on New Year's Day. We have several options. You can cancel a meeting that week, or you can set it for another day of the week.
One thing I would like to put in here that I think that we're gonna discuss, or I have that on my list for discussion, if we are going to consider changing council days from the 1st and 3rd to the 2nd and the 4th.
Hey, we said we'd discuss that at the first of the year organizational meeting.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
that maybe we should, before we make this motion here, we should maybe discuss the other thing and see if we are gonna make a change.
We could always back it up a week. make Christmas
I
dinner.
like that, Councilman Barber, or not Christmas week, but maybe, is it appropriate for us to have an organizational meeting in December, when the agenda's probably gonna be sort of light, and then
We have
and
no
then-
change
and
in council
cancel-
with this,
cancel the
with this
meeting.
election, do we?
And
we could cancel the first meeting in January and have a reorganization and this discussion maybe mid-December.
I don't see why we don't just cancel the first meeting and take it up, what would be our normally scheduled second meeting in January.
Or that.
Well, Mayor, were you thinking about having somewhat of a workshop this fall to discuss some of the different things in the vision? Maybe we could bring it up at that time.
That's up to council if you want a work session to,
Why don't we just take care of this meeting? What are we gonna do with the meeting first?
let's decide what we're gonna do with this January 1st meeting.
Is there any reason why we just can't do it
Cancel
the day
that
after?
meeting?
I would be
Day
in
after.
favor of canceling the meeting.
altogether?
Yeah,
No,
and
that's
just have
me.
one,
I'm just one person, but.
Yeah.
And meet the,
I think that would be fine.
let
Handle whatever
let
business.
the third Tuesday be our first meeting, which would be the organizational meeting.
Yes, I can handle that.
That'd be the 15th.
Unless you want to meet on this
We'll meet on Wednesday the 2nd.
Yeah. No,
It's up to you.
so why don't we just postpone it a day? I'm fine with that.
Not to be football conscious, because God, I'm not, but I know on the 3rd, that day will probably be a big ballgame.
Isn't that, bringing it up, doesn't that make you football conscious?
Well, I'm just bringing up something there, I don't know.
Just don't want a lot on the
I
agenda.
think we're gonna have to worry about any of our local schools being anywhere after about the end of November, so we could do it at any time.
I would like to see us have it. Then, of course, we can't predict what's gonna be on it. We don't have people being sworn in, it's an organizational meeting. And Steve, it could be very fast,
Okay, thank you.
unless we get into a heated debate about switching the weeks.
All right, well, January 3rd is what, a Wednesday?
Thursday.
The third would be a Thursday, the second would be Wednesday.
Go with either day.
Let's go to the 2nd, Wednesday.
I don't have a conflict. If you want to do it on the second, that's fine with me, and just make sure you remind me.
And those of us who are football conscious, may not want
Even
to put
those
something
football
on the
conscious can
agenda.
support that.
Maybe keep the agenda light, so.
Have the meeting on January 2nd,
Yes.
which is a Wednesday. You want to put that in the form of a motion?
So
Yes,
moved.
second.
You got that, Ms. Clerk?
Who made the motion?
Mr. Barber?
Thank you.
Discussion? Anybody planning to be out of town on the 2nd?
That's what I was getting ready to say. Of course, I'm out of town.
Depends on how the season goes.
Mr. Helms.
You're gonna be out of town?
Maybe. Might be having a grandbaby back
There
then,
you go.
or my daughter might be.
Well, you'd be
Yeah.
No, she'll be having a child.
Okay.
Henry's already told you it's gonna be a quick meeting.
Barry, I tried. Barry, I tried.
All right, folks, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor of holding the January meeting on January 2nd, which is a Wednesday, please say aye. All opposed, no. We will meet on January 2nd. Guess we need to ask the town attorney if they're available on the 2nd.
At least I am.
So at least one of you, right?
Yeah, I can't speak for Jim, but somebody will be.
That's the right answer.
Town manager's report.
Planning Commission's made a recommendation, or has made a recommendation on code amendment. They asked for council to, the earliest y'all could have a public hearing on would be the 16th of October. However, the residents of 415 Miller Street, the ones that wanted to change the code to allow horses, cannot be here that night. And they requested to have the meeting or the public hearing on the 6th of November. So one of those two nights, we'd like to schedule a public hearing for change the zoning ordinance.
Change the zoning ordinance to allow horses.
Well, no, the planning commission did not recommend changing that.
Okay,
There are several changes that they have
Okay.
in the thing, and it's really quite extensive. And it'll take a few minutes to go over some of the different areas that they've covered.
So you're saying 16th isn't good, so we're gonna look at November the 6th?
The residents on Miller Street asked if we could do it 6th instead of the 16th, because they'd like to speak at the public hearing.
All right, November 6th, 7, I'll make that motion.
Motion and a second to hold a public hearing November 6th.
Second, yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Been seconded, discussion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
We'll have a public hearing on November 6th.
Mr. Sam Moore resigned from the Recreation Commission. So the Rec Commission is going to come up with recommendations for the 2 vacancies we have now and the student representative and come back. This will be after the October.
Yeah, we meet October 1st, I think it is, it's first. Yeah, we meet October the 1st, and we'll discuss it at that
I'll
point.
be bringing a recommendation to council on this.
And I think we have one resume.
Yep.
Okay.
And I believe that's a recommendation on that one from the Recreation Director.
I'll have to come through us, but yeah, I mean, that's. I'm
You're
aware.
gonna meet on the 1st,
Monday the 1st.
and we meet on the 2nd. And we'll be prepared to make that appointment on the 2nd.
At least
And we-
2 appointments on the 2nd. One for the,
If you could, we'll convey to Mr. Epperly that we'd like for those people to be present. So we'll see who's being appointed. Is that right, Ken?
Well, I would like that, or at least come within several months of your appointment.
let's get them, let's get them appointed,
Run
let's
into
get
them
them
on the
appointed.
street.
I'd hate to get them out in the audience and tell them no, so that, let's get them appointed and ask them to come maybe the next meeting.
That's fine.
I do like that idea. I like to know who's serving on our committees.
All right, and we established that a long time ago.
We did.
We're still waiting on several people to come.
Still got a
Hopefully,
few of them.
hopefully
All right.
sooner rather than later.
The interactive CUP map on the webpage, signed a contract with the person that does the webpage last week.
Pacific
And
Plus?
So,
It's interactive GIS.
interactive, yeah. And they'll be working on getting it on there. We'll put, the planning department's still reviewing several hundred of them that are, to make sure that only the active ones are going on there. And so they'll put up part of them and then be doing updates as they get the others verified.
Do we have a, I mean, obviously August was probably a little premature. Was that just for us to review and then get it to the website? I was thinking we were going to have it done at the end of August.
There's several hundred CUP files. They're all scanned in, but we're trying to verify the active ones and keeping up with our regular duties too. We want to make sure we have the active ones and have a good database to work with. And then the interactive GIS with the contract, we'll be up and running within 15 days. I don't think it'll take that long.
And they're short one person right now. So
Yeah, we're just fast 2 right now.
I stole Randy. Question is also asked about the status of traffic calming on Majestic, Patriots Way, and Sleepy Hollow. Street Committee wants to finish the Allegheny and Miller, get the process, go through it one time, and then start working on those.
Could we ask the police department to increase patrol traffic out there until we get something done?
On those,
Majestic and those places.
Got a quick question, at least on Majestic, then I finally saw that sign off College Street, it's 4 tons. Is that something we can implement? Does it need council to put up a sign, no commercial traffic or no trucks over 4 tons on Majestic and cutting through anymore? Because I know that was a concern of theirs.
I think council made to pass the ordinance for the College Street, I believe. That's been,
Did something on Elliott Drive too that was heavier trucks.
yeah.
So I think we had some type of a public hearing and vote on it, if I'm not mistaken, Henry. That was a couple of years back. But I
College Avenue was 7 tons, wasn't it? Was it 7, Wayne?
Was it 7 or 4?
It was something.
7 on,
It was something.
7 on Miller, or not, on Elliott Drive, I think.
I'll bring it back next year.
Whatever the tonnage, I mean,
Yeah.
something that.
Something that
Something
prevents the big flatbed, long.
But no
the big-
trucks.
The heavy trucks.
More than 3 tires permitted at any given time.
Only unicycles.
And that's, I would like to be off the first meeting of January.
If needed.
Yes, if needed.
We can give you a definite maybe at this point.
She's due the 6th of January, I think it is. So, and then she lives in my daughter lives in New Mexico, and Francine would like for me to go with her. If I don't go, she's gonna go by herself anyhow. I'm not gonna keep her away. But, I'd like to be off, and before we make a decision on that, I'd also like to take a commission trip to Brazil be gone the first meeting in February. Those days, I'd like to miss.
You went up the river again.
Hopefully.
Okay.
You don't need an answer to tell you.
Food for thought, thank you.
I don't think we voted on that anyway.
You're It's your vacation.
You're entitled to vacation time, so.
I'm supposed to be at most of the council meetings.
Let me ask this question. If you are not here on January 2nd, Randy, are you in town? So we could go on without missing a beat. But it is also reorganizational day. Is that the night we approve the appointment of?
Committees
According
and.
to
Yes.
Mr. Glenn, you don't have to reappoint me. Once you appoint me, it's.
No, that's,
We don't have to reappoint anybody, it's at our will, is that right?
It's until you unappoint me. Same thing with the treasurer.
Larry, if you hear otherwise when you're gone.
Just send me a letter. I don't have a cell phone.
When you come back, you see your door is locked, you got something.
All right, what else, Mr. Helms?
That's all, sir. I think I better quit.
All right, let me throw this out here, a workshop that we might consider meeting, just a work session about November the 27th, that's the 4th Wednesday, and I think we'll all be through with Thanksgiving by then, and we can get an update on the Vision 2020, and also discuss Mr. Hubbard's proposal on changing our meeting dates.
When is Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving 22nd.
Oh.
Yes, it's a whole week out.
Yeah,
Okay.
it would be, it'd be a couple days after Thanksgiving.
So we're gonna have a meeting the Tuesday before Thanksgiving and then the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Yep.
You just gonna fatten us up for the kill, aren't you, Mayor?
You can bring some of your biscuits, Mayor.
We would meet on the 20th of November, and then we'll come back for a work session on the 27th, and I would think that we wouldn't need to meet more than an hour or so to hear an update on the Vision 2020. Can we do that? I think you were gonna do that next week at VML, but we are not going to meet as a group at the VML, so just too many of us not gonna be able to go there.
Just to clarify your statement, we can meet on the 27th, but the fact that we can do it in an hour, we haven't demonstrated that capability yet.
We've never had an hour yet,
That's a good
but
challenge.
we won't have a long agenda, that's what I'm talking, that's what I'm.
What we done tonight.
Now you're buttering us up for that, huh?
What time are we starting this thing, 6 or 7?
We like to go early,
All right.
6.
So we're gonna start on the 27th at 6.
Pizza,
And where are we gonna do it?
pizza or something?
Here,
Right here, okay?
here, and you can bring pizza or whatever you like to bring.
We thought the mayor was doing.
Let's just go. Hell, we got 2 more meetings before we have to decide this thing.
All right. What else?
Mayor, I got, about weren't we gonna meet sometime in October about, we had a work session a couple months ago, just a follow-up to that, the financials or the options that were, I mean, do we wanna wait and just cover that in
We
that
can-
meeting?
Yeah, we can do that on the
I'm good with
27th.
that.
Yeah.
During that hour.
That's
It's gonna be more than an hour, Mayor.
Yeah, well, I would say it'll be a short agenda, and you can take as long as you want to, and we have met 3 hours or longer, but yeah, I'm just suggesting we try to hold it a little bit short since it's
Well,
an
let's go
off
ahead and
meeting,
put that on there as well.
all right? And I want to apologize to our town manager for a comment I made during regular session. I had received a note to call Ms. Bates, and I understood that she had already talked with the town manager. And so I didn't call her, because I certainly didn't want to say anything that contradicted what he had told her. And then I come right out in public and say, if it was me, I would expect the town to do something. I can understand Mr. Helms telling her we can't accommodate everyone, otherwise it's setting a precedent for anybody else that has a claim. So, Barry, I would apologize
She's got to
for,
try.
but I do feel very strongly that we should have some responsibility there. I've replaced a couple of windshields in my vehicles, and I always go with a used windshield, which is about half of what a new one costs. So she may be willing to do that even. So, anyway,
Barry, I appreciate, I mean, that's not an easy position to be in, to tell people no.
Yeah.
And it is, I do appreciate it.
Have to do it right off and some.
Good,
They ask what their
Ed.
next-
Sometimes you
they
gotta
ask
tell
what
us
their
no,
next
too.
option is talk to council.
all right, well, she came and talked to